Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedyad Ravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sharanam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Badram Karne Vishnu Devaha Badram Pashe Makshabhirya Jatra Stiraya Rangai Stushtvagum Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vridhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastaksho arishtademihi Swasti no brahaspatir dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So is Wendy online? No.
Yes, I am here.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I tested negative this morning, so I'm probably in the clear, but I'm going to test again in 48 hours. And
No, I'm very grateful that you were mindful, all of us.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are in our fourth chapter. What Karika are we on now?
27.
Did you say 47 or 27?
27.
27. Do you have it?
Yeah.
All right. So he has finished going through this long section rooted in what we call tarka, argument, to intellectually, logically show how any attachment to the philosophy that I am a transmigrating soul and I'm going to get fixed and I'm going to eventually go through an experience where I'm one with Brahman, because I'm not that now, logically falls apart. So we have to understand that in the Vedas, in our Shruti, we have what appears to be two dissonant philosophies. We have the idea of reincarnation. We have the idea of spiritual evolution. We have the idea of the transmigration of souls. We have karma, gaining punya, expiating papa, and eventually this individual attains union with Brahman. But the Vedanta says that at best is a partial teaching, which has as its ultimate purpose attaining chitta shuddhi, purity of mind, attaining a sattvic mind state. In that sattvic mind, I rediscover that I never was a person, that all these stories, these narratives were like a dream. I've always been Brahman. I just, in my mind, did not know it. So the Upanishad thunders the philosophy of ajati. The self is unborn. It's always been Brahman. It does not become it. Any thoughts about this? All right, going on. Next Kadika.
Nimittam na sada chittam sansprishatya dvasu trishu animitto viparyasa katham tasya bhavishyati. The mind does not ever touch or enter into a causal relationship with any external object in any of the three periods of time. How can the mind ever subject to delusion, as there is no cause external object for any such mental mischief?
So the idea here, he thunders, the mind itself is another illusory experience. So if we again go to the dream state, if I dream that there's a sofa across the room from me, I had the weirdest dream this morning. I was having a dinner party, it's probably because I went to one last night, and I was trying to put leaves in the table, and someone was there and they kept putting the tablecloth on the table before I put the leaves in. And then I have a pad that I put on the table before I put the tablecloth, and they kept putting more and more tablecloths on. Very weird. So did my mind through sight contact a real table or real tablecloths? No, it was all imagination. He's saying this is no different. This is no different. And he says, even our spiritual ignorance is not real. Well, wait a minute. I thought the whole point of this was moksha, that I would be liberated, that my ignorance would be destroyed. You keep teaching me about vasanas having a varana shakti, veiling power. What Gaudapada is talking about, listen very carefully. Actually, ignorance never covers the self. So if I were to ask some of you, who here doesn't think they're realized? I'm not realized. Oh, I'm so sorry. Now, do you exist? Yes, I exist. What's your existence? My miserable body. But you know you are. Is your life miserable? Yes, terribly miserable. Do you know your misery? Oh, I know. Always. I am. I know. It is never absent, nor is it ever really covered. So I remember giving a workshop up in it wasn't in Krishnali, it was near that. And I asked the question, as I frequently do, who here doesn't exist? Up goes a hand. This fellow was a Shunyavadan Buddhist. I don't exist. Okay. And you've had the experience that you don't exist? Oh, yes. I know I had the direct experience that I don't exist. Well, of course, the Vedantin then would ask, very good. And to whom did that experience occur? So, for example, I can say, yes, there's a phone in my hand. Yes, there's no phone in my hand, but somebody has to know the presence and absence. So if you have the experience of the disappearance of yourself, who knows it? So I do not doubt the fellow's experience. Something disappeared. In Vedanta, we would say the jiva bhavana disappeared. The sense that I'm a person, the sense of individuality certainly disappears. But the ground of being never disappears. And the great cosmic joke, everybody already has it, and everybody always already knows the only perfect knowledge, which is the self-evidence of the self. How do you know you are you? In truth, you do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself. The thought, oh, I am Brahman, is another occurrence in Maya. I just am, and I know it. I never doubt my existence. I can have the thought, oh, I don't exist. To whom did that thought occur? To me. You still have direct experience of yourself. Now, got to be very careful with the teaching of this karika. If that be so, don't worry about ignorance. It's not real. Oh, Jim, I got all triggered and I was so upset and I yelled at such and such and so and so. Oh, I'm a fallen yogi. Did that touch the self? Nor do I have to be constantly, I'm the self, I'm the self, I'm the self, I'm the self. That's important at one particular level of our sadhana. But once you're rooted in it, give up needing to do that. For example, you do not need to constantly think about the fact that you have a human body. You never forget it. You're not like the character in the Kafka short story who wakes up in the morning thinking you're a cockroach. So we're dealing with two kinds of knowledge here. The first knowledge is the only real one. The swayambhu, the self-evidence of the self. And everybody already has it, which is why Meher Baba, the great 20th century saint, used to say, everybody's already realized. That's the only real knowledge of the self. But this is a big but. There is this transformative experience in this illusory mind of this creature in the dream of this world. The recognition, pratibhinyana, where I know I am Brahman in my mind. I have the firm conviction based in direct experience that I'm not a person. I am Brahman. Now, some of you may have had at least glimpses of this. Others of you may be rooted in this to some degree. If you did you sleep last night? Yes, no? Where did this knowledge go? Gone. Only gone from the mind. You went nowhere. And I can prove it. You wake up in the morning and you say, oh, I slept so soundly. I don't remember a thing. You were there. You are never absent. So, to summarize, both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. There is no other bondage than the deeply rooted conviction idea that I'm bound, caused by the ignorance in the mind that I'm the body. I superimpose on myself nature all these nonsensical ideas. Once I do that, then growing, becoming, fixing, evolving, reincarnating, going to other lokas, talking to celestial beings, be they devas or whatever, all seems real. Gaudapada says it's all a dream. There is no other moksha, no other liberation, and the deeply rooted conviction in my mind, based in direct experience. Not that, now I'm a realized person. Treat me differently. Give me respect. That's foolishness. It's the conviction not that I'm any kind of a person, but I am Brahman. With the knowledge that even that thought is just an idea. So in the end, we give up concern over what I know, what I don't know in the mind. Forget all. Where I've renounced the mind itself. The mind itself, Swamiji used to say, commits haratiri, commits psychic suicide. The mind itself quits believing its own thoughts, its own narratives. I cannot think a real thought. The mind itself, I mean, it just goes, can't hold on to it. Any thoughts on this? This is very advanced teaching. This is, again, a very, very advanced Upanishad. It's the subtlest. If this isn't your experience at this point, if it isn't resonating, just put it on the shelf. If we're still firmly identified with Jiva Bhavana, no blame. Do you wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm such a terrible person. I dreamt last night. No. Dreaming is what the mind does. Jiva Bhavana is just a dream. That's all it is. Never really touches you. Next one.
Tasman na jayate chittam chittadrishyam na jayate tasya pashyanti ye jatim kevai pashyanti te padam. There was never born neither the mind nor the objects perceived by the mind. Those who perceive such birds may as well try to perceive or try to discover the footprints of the birds in the sky.
Yes. So even though images are seen, the jiva, the jivatma, is not real. It was never born. It has no real history. This is why, in the end, causation hunting in our minds doesn't really get us any place. It may give some temporary relief in the beginning. The only freedom comes when I give up believing my mind.
So this is saying the mind is like a flame or like a river, which there is no thing.
Well, it doesn't even exist. It's like a dream. It's imagined. It's not even like a real river. It's like a hologram. It looks like it's there. So if R2D2 is projecting Princess Leia, and there's someone from the dark side there, brings out a sword and wants to cut down the hologram of Princess Leia, does it work? No. If you're against LGBTQ rights and you see a rainbow, nature is supporting gay lib, I'm going to go take a gun and shoot the rainbow. Seen, but not real. Seen, but not real. Remember the story way back in the when in the early, like post 2016, when there was all this conspiracy that Hillary Clinton was running a pedophile ring out of the basement of a pizza parlor. Do you remember that story that was going around?
Pizzagate. Pizzagate.
Pizzagate, yeah. And this poor fellow, sincere, he shows up at the pizza parlor with an AK-47 Thank God he didn't kill anybody. He was convinced there were children being held captive in the basement. And what was there? First of all, there wasn't even a basement, let alone any children held captive there. But boy, was it real to him. Fast forward, there are people who went to court who had deep regret for their behavior on January 6th. They were sure those damn liberals had stolen the election. And then they learned, no, I was fooled. I was tricked. I thought I was doing what my president asked of me. I thought I was helping to save the country. They're not bad people. They were just profoundly deluded. That's all our suffering is. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Ajatam jayate yasmat jati prakriti prastatah prakriteranyatha bhavo na katham chit bhavishyati. In the opinion of the disputants, that which is unborn is born. The very nature of that is to be ever unborn. It is never possible for a thing to be ever other than what it is.
Yes. Brahman is. Sat, it is. Chit, it shines as awareness. Ananda, no sorrow ever reaches or touches it. Real. It never leaves its swabhava, its essential being. Or as the Christians say, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Don't believe me. Don't believe Gaudapada. In a quiet mind, having renounced, at least momentarily, all our cravings, all our longings, all our striving, with the attentive faculty, turn within. Notice who you are. See if you can find a being that's born and died and born again. See if you can find a being that's improving or diminished, that has characteristics, form, quality, taint. Prove it in the laboratory of your own direct experience. Going on.
अनादेरन्तत्वं च संसारस्य न सेद्यति अनन्तता चादिमतो mokshasya na bhavishyati. If the world be admitted to be beginningless, as the disputants insist, then it cannot be non-eternal. Moksha or liberation cannot have a beginning and be eternal too.
Yes. So if I'm a being in ignorance, in the beginning of time, I was separated from God for some reason, and I'm struggling through incarnations, and I will eventually get back to God. Oh, if it has a beginning, it can have an end. Moksha in the end is not a mind state. Moksha is my swabhava, my self-nature. I am already free. That self-evidence, the Swayambhu, is perfect. There is no beginning to you. There is no change to you. There is no end to you. This is not just hopeful words. Find it out. I enjoy watching history things on YouTube, stuff like that. There was a program, I think it was a PBS one or National Geographic, about the Atocha, which was a Spanish galleon that sunk. Have I shared that with you before? I must have. And they found this lumpy thing. And it was all encrusted with barnacles and stuff like that. What did they do? First, they soak it in this solution, which kills the barnacles. Then they're able to peel all the incrustations off. And underneath was a solid gold crucifix encrusted with precious gems. Priceless object from the 16th century. Probably Inca gold, melted down and recast. All these jewels. But when they first found it, they didn't create, achieve, attain the gold crucifix. It was always there. They just removed the obfuscation, the incrustations. That's all yoga is.
Jim,
I remove from my attention all those things that keep my mind from realizing I am that heartless Brahman. It's all that happens. Now, even though it's an illusion, that doesn't mean it's not really important. Because what is it that suffers? my mind, just repeating, my suffering's an illusion, my suffering's an illusion, in and of itself doesn't fix it, doesn't solve the problem. It's just vain repetition. You have to have the profound vipassana, the profound deep insight to what's real. Going on.
आदवन्ते च यन्नास्ति वर्तमानेऽपि तत्तथा वितथै सदृशा सन्तो तथा इव लक्षिता. That which is non-existent in the beginning and in the end is necessarily non-existent in the intermediary stages also. The objects we see are illusions, still they are regarded as if real.
Yes. So if it has non-existence in the beginning and non-existence in the end, Gaudapada says they don't have any real existence in the middle. They have a relative existence at best. Where does my problem come? I keep wanting to attribute to the phenomenal world the qualities of my own self-nature. I want a relationship to always be the same and eternal. I want my job to always be the same. I want a mind state to always be the same. Remember what happened? We saw in the fourth Karika in the second chapter. The phenomenal world, without exception, is quite real, and the proof of its unreality is you can see it. Only the subject is real. Don't get caught up in the illusion. Just because you know it's unreal doesn't make it go away. I love the story that Sound tells about the art display in New York with the mirrors. And she was going to step forward onto what she knew was a solid floor. But because there were mirrors on all sides, it looked like a regressus ad infinitum, like there was this endless hole and she could fall down. She knew it wasn't real, and it was still hard to step out on that floor. Fabulous, fabulous example of the world. So she had to disregard what her senses told her and just step forward. No deep hole, solid ground. So as yogis, what is it that I'm seeing? Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. The entire phenomenal universe, gross and subtle, the body, mind, and intellect, the ego itself, even my ignorance, Mithya, illusion, Vaitatya, false. Going on.
Saprayojanata tesham स्वप्ने विप्रतिपद्यते तस्माद् आद्यन्तवत्वेन मिथ्यैव खलु ते स्मृताः. The argument that they, the objects of the waking state, serve some purpose is contradicted in the dream. Therefore, they are undoubtedly accepted to be illusory by the discriminate on account of their having a beginning and an end.
So one of the ways in which I attribute reality to the waking state world, but it's useful. You can get on your motorcycle and ride over here. You can call an Uber and go from here to there. Things have use. But what he's saying is they do not have use in the dream state. How useful is your motorcycle when you have a dream? My dream this morning, I have perfectly good leaves for my dining room table and a pad and several very nice tablecloths. But they were of no use this morning in my dream. And the opposite is also true. The things of the dream state are not useful in the waking state. But such is the nature of the mind that phenomena seems real. We have this wonderful small word in Sanskrit, eva. What's eva mean?
Like
Like or seemingly. Little Eva. It seems to be real. Asat. But it's not real. Anitya. Not eternal. Going on.
सर्वे धर्मामृषा स्वप्ने कायस्यान्तर्निदर्शनात् संवृत्तेऽस्मिन् न प्रदेशे वैभूतानां दर्शनं कुतः. All the objects cognized in the dreams are unreal because they are seen within the body. How is it possible to really perceive those things that are perceived to exist there to be really within?
So I know the dream world is unreal. There are various ways where I prove that to myself. For example, I had this dream about this dinner party and table. Meena did not have that dream. Puneet did not have that dream. It was all within my own mind. Not only that, the objects are not available in the waking state reality. So remember in the very beginning, big old capital R for what's real. What's our definition of reality? It's important to remember this.
That which cannot be created.
Yes. That which is never subject to negation. That which always is. That which is changeless. It's not my hairline. It's not my waistline. It's not my bank account. It's not my health. It's not my relationships. It's not the politics. It's not anything in the phenomenal world, even mountains and valleys change. In my cupboard, I have Himalayan sea salt. I like it because it's pink. How can you have sea salt from the Himalayas? Means at one point was under the sea. Really mind-boggling when you think about it. Only aham is real. That is never known as an object, yet it is not unknown. Going on.
न युक्तं दर्शनं गत्वा कालस्यानीयमागतौ प्रतिबुद्धश्च वै सर्व तस्मिन् देशे न विद्यते. It is not possible for the dreamer to go to have the experiences of the dream objects on account of the limited time involved in such journeys. Again, on waking up, the dreamer does not find himself in the place where he dreamt himself to be.
Yes. So even from the standpoint of time going hither and thither, you may dream, for example, that you're in your childhood home. And then you wake up. There you are in your bed. You don't have the time to teleport back to your bedroom. All our ordinary notions of cause and effect in the world absolutely prove that the dream's not real, it's imagination. That's clear to most of us. Going on.
मित्राध्यै सह सन्मन्त्र्य सम्बुद्धो न प्रपद्यते गृहीतं चापि यत् किञ्चित् प्रतिबुद्धो न पश्यति. The dreamer, on being awakened, realizes the illusory nature of the conversations he had with his companions and so on during his dream. Moreover, he does not retain in the waking state anything which he had acquired or received in his dream.
Yes. But something remains the same. To whom did the dream experiences occur? To me. And when they disappear, to whom is the waking state world appearing? To me. The dream is illusory. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Going on.
Swapne chavastuka kaya prithak prithaganyasya darshanat yatha kayastatha sarvam chittadrishyam avastukam. The body, which is actively participating in the dream life, must necessarily be unreal, since the other body of the dreamer is perceived as lying in the bed as distinctly different from his dream body. Like the body, everything cognized in the dream is certainly unreal.
Yes. So my dream body appears to the dreamer mind just as real as this does. And at least for me, the body in my dream is very different. By and large, nothing hurts in the dream. I don't know about you. I see perfectly. My back doesn't hurt. If I'm climbing up a hill, I'm not exhausted. Not the same as the waking state dream. To the dreamer, it is just as solid and real as this is to the waker. Going on.
Grihanat jagarati Grihanat jagarati avadhetu swapnaishyati tadhetutvattu tasyaiva sajjagarati tamishyati. Since the experiences of objects in the dream are similar to the experiences of objects in the waking state, it is thought that the waking experiences are the cause of the dream experiences. On account of this reason, the waking experiences, which are supposed to be the cause for the dream, appear as real to the dreamer alone.
So, one of the paradigms that we see that the dream is the undigested impressions from the waking state. For example, in my dream this morning, last night I was at a dinner party. I also entertain people for meals here. So my dream about preparing for a dinner party with all this craziness with the table was the undigested impressions from the waking state world. But is that real cause and effect? If I got rid of this dining room table, would that keep me from dreaming about that dining room table? No. Next verse.
Actually, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what we've been talking about, not believing that the senses are reporting. So the practices, even if we're not in samadhi, we still have to train the mind to remember that it's the self, that what is seeing is the self. Is that the practice?
Well, samadhi is not the highest state. Samadhi is useful. Remember in the last chapter, he said samadhi is practiced by those with middling intellects, not the highest. Samadhi is useful because it absolutely proves to the mind that the jiva is not real. But that doesn't mean we've finished the process. If when you come out of samadhi, you then still believe the phenomenal world is real, and you believe your ego's real, then you had a glimpse, but you don't have sthita prajna. So what the main thing that Gaudapada is inviting us to focus on here is practice letting go of my deeply rooted belief, one, in the reality of the phenomenal world, two, that happiness is inherent in the phenomenal. Happiness is your self-nature. Is that more useful?
Yeah.
So this is meditation in action. The Zen Buddhists actually parse it very well. They have Kensho and Satori. I don't know if the Goenka people talk about this. What's the difference between Kensho and Satori? Does anybody know who's studied some Buddhism?
Aren't they like Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa?
I'm not sure you can say exactly the same. Kensho is when you have a glimpse, but you don't hold on to it. You lose it. Satori is when you're rooted in it. But Nirvikalpa Samadhi is useful. If you go back and remember Tripura Rahasya, Hema Chuda, goes up into his crystal tower and he sits and sits and he gets so blissed out. He's deep in samadhi. And Hemalega comes and she pulls on him and honey, honey. And he comes out of it like he's a drunkard and says, how is it that you know of this state and you're in the world? Leave me alone. I want to go back to samadhi. Honey, honey. Your knowledge is not perfect. You are still far away from perfection, as far as the moon is from the earth. How can it be perfect if its gain or loss is acquired by the opening or shutting the lids of the eyes the length of 8 grains of barley? And so then she begins to instruct him on sahaja samadhi, natural or continuous samadhi, which is essentially renunciation of the world. So one sees the equipment moving through the world as if it were a dream. I see the activity of the body, mind, intellect as it interacts with the objects of the senses with the same importance as my shadow. Seen, but of no real import. Then for the yogi, there's no inside, no outside. Does that make it clearer?
Yeah. I have a follow-up, but maybe you can bring up.
No, ask your question.
So practice like seeing the events as a shadow. Like if my stomach hurts, it's my shadow's stomach that hurts.
Well, there's a thing which I think the Buddhists call the second arrow.
Yeah.
The first arrow is the pain that you're experiencing. The second arrow is my resistance to it, my compulsion to want to get away from the experience. Now, again, yoga is not saying that there's any great virtue in needlessly enduring physical suffering. By all means, go to the doctor. But if you're not going to the doctor and you're sitting here and your stomach hurts, the suffering is much less if you're just present to it without resisting it. If it hurts, weep.
Can I add something to?
Please.
There's like an underlying belief that there is a sense of control and predictability that maybe gets in the way, where things are happening in a way that ideally you would not want them to happen. But because there is an underlying belief that I can control things, the resistance seems to arise because there is a cognitive dissonance there that I don't want this to happen, but it is happening. And then the struggle comes to try to fix it.
Very good.
So I found like just trying to look at the control itself to say, is there a part of my mind that feels like there is a sense of wanting control here, which isn't available?
One of the practices we have in the 12-step traditions is we admit our powerlessness. In the beginning, over drugs or alcohol, but in the end, I am powerless overall. Good question and good insight. All right, one more.
Yeah, 38, right?
Yeah,
Utpadasya prasiddhatvat ajam sarvam udahritam na cha bhutada sambhavosti kathanchana. Since the creation or evolution cannot be established de facto, all these dream objects are known as unborn. It is ever impossible for the unreal to be born of the real.
Yes. So we have ideas that God creates the world, God manifests a real world, or I can manifest anything that's substantively real. Does the mirror manifest or create images? Seen, but not real. What's real? Brahma, Satya. Brahman alone is real. Going on, next one.
Asad jagarate drishtva swapne pashyati tanmayah asat swapnepi drishtva cha pratibuddho na pashyati. Being deeply impressed with the unreal objects seen in the waking state, a man sees these very things in his dreams as well. Moreover, the unreal objects cognized in the dream are not seen again in the waking state.
So again, this idea that what are the objects in the dream? By and large, they're the undigested impressions of the waking state. But that doesn't make them real. The dining room table I dreamt about this morning did not exist. It never was. But the dreamer, with his dream mind, certainly got frustrated by dream. It's to the dreamer, it seemed. Going on.
Na satya siddhe na satya saddhetukam asat saddhetukam tatha satya saddhetukam nasti saddhetukam asat kutah. The unreal cannot have the unreal thing for its cause, nor can the real thing be produced from the unreal thing. The real existing thing cannot be the cause of the real another existing thing. How indeed can then real thing be the cause of something unreal?
So the unreal cannot cause anything real. This is why at the moment of realization, go back and you read that very poetic section in Viveka Chudamani, where the Shisha then says, my ignorance isn't real, the scriptures aren't real, the guru isn't real, my bondage wasn't real. This is why in the end, I like to say, don't try to be an enlightened person. You're going to get in trouble if you start identifying as an enlightened person. No mind state is real, including that one. What's real? That's real. Scriptures say it, but use the scripture to come to a direct experience. So we don't want to grip onto anything the mind posits. It's nowhere standing. Next one more.
Viparya sadhyata jagrat chidyan bhutavat sprishet tatha swapne viparyasad dharmas tatraiva pashyati. Just as one in the waking state considers as real, through false knowledge, the objects whose nature cannot be described, similarly in the dream also one perceives through false knowledge objects whose existence is possible only in that condition.
Yes. So I dream I'm flying. That's impossible to the waking state. But to the dreamer, it seems very real. So also, I go get on the bus. I go visit my friend George. You ride your motorcycle. Did you come from an Uber?
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems very real. But it is like a dream. Take it easy. This is the one that I like to point out. Which is more real, a pleasant dream or a nightmare? Right? So this teaching does not say, if you understand the dreamlike nature, your tummy won't hurt. Doesn't say that. It's at a very deep level. Never touches you. Nothing's going to harm you, ever. And all the names and forms seem a vivid experience for some of them, but they will all decay and disappear. And as Krishna says in the second chapter of Gita, why grieve over the inevitable? All right, we'll quit here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om.